Okay, thank you for listening for today lesson and session. Okay, I would like to highlight today is about one is about the term of osmosis, about the osmotic pressure, and hydrostatic pressure, and you have to know about the osmolality and osmolarity. And don't forget to know about the tonicity. Okay. Then, okay, let's first we look at into what is osmosis, right? Osmosis, you know that. First, you have to make sure that you have two compartments that is actually the barrier is a semi-permeable membrane here. Okay, here. Okay, and one of the side we can, for example, we put a few solute inside one of the fluids and another fluid without the solute or a small volume of solute. Okay, so osmosis is actually the process of the movement of the H2O, the water, okay, from the higher concentration of water into the lower concentration of water, or from the lower concentration of solute into the higher concentration of the solute. Okay, now that is the osmosis, the process of the movement of the water from the lower concentration of the solute into the higher concentration of the solid. Okay, okay, next let me see what is actually the hydrostatic pressure. Hydrostatic pressure. Okay, this application is basically about the capillary, okay, capillary, and also in the interstitial fluids. Okay, so you know that there is a membrane here, right? Okay, now what is actually the hydrostatic pressure? Hydrostatic pressure is actually the pressure of the fluid, okay, of the fluids. This fluid give a pressure to the capillary wall, okay, give pressure to the capillary wall. So these actually force the fluid from the capillary to go outside into the interstitial. Okay, now let me see about the osmotic pressure. Okay, osmotic pressure is actually the force of the force that we need to overcome the process of osmosis. So as we know that the plasma in the capillary have a lot of solute, okay, a lot of solute. So the interstitial have the lower solute compared to the capillary. So now the water will move from the interstitial into the capillary. So osmotic pressure is about the force to overcome the osmosis from occur, right? So that is the that actually to stop the movement of the water from the interstitial into the capillary. Okay, so osmosis is actually osmotic pressure. We have another term that we call it as oncotic pressure. Oncotic pressure is actually the colloid osmotic pressure. Osmotic pressure. So this oncotic pressure is made by the presence of the protein inside the plasma. Okay, about the protein. So because the protein is a large molecule, it gives a increase lot of the pressure, the osmotic pressure, that we call it as an oncotic pressure. Okay, so I think that one actually to explain about the term of the oncotic pressure, the osmotic pressure, and also the hydrostatic. Okay, next you have to know, we're going to introduce about the term osmolarity and also osmolality. Okay, so what is osmolarity and what is the osmolality? Okay, now you know that it's about the about the osmotic, the content of the solution, solute inside the solutions, right? Okay, osmolarity, R is referred to liter, is that the volume, and the osmolality, L, is referred to the kg, the weight of the solution. Okay, now osmolality is about the concentration of the solute inside the volume of solutions. So it's about the osmol per liter, and this is about the osmol per kg. So what is actually the difference between these two? Okay, let's see the difference between these two. Osmolality is how much is the osmotic pressure, okay, the osmo that made by the solution inside. Okay, it can be consist of any sodium, glucose, or urea, and a few more like mannitol. Okay, so these solute give rise to the osmo, but we have to the concentration of the solute. So the measurement of the osmolality is how much is all the solute inside the solutions per 1 liter of solution. Okay, osmo per kg, sorry, how many weight of the solution. So actually it's quite a same thing with the osmolarity. The R is about the osmo per liter. Okay, the volume. Okay, so now the difference between the osmolarity and also the osmolality is actually depend on the how much per volume or per kg. The liter is for the per volume, osmolarity is per kg. Okay, so now when to use the osmolarity and when to use the osmolality. For the clinical application, there is no difference between these two terms, as long as you know how many solutes inside the solution, that's all. Okay, but for the understanding purposes, actually is the most reliable is about per kg osmolality. Okay, because the kg of the water of the solution did not change. If you are going to boil or something, that the processes that you make to the water is they cannot change the kg, right? But the liter of the solution will be changed. Okay, when you're boiling water and so on, the liter of the solution will be changed. Okay, so but in the practical purposes, you're using the osmolarity, because for example, you take a blood for the patients. Okay, you're going to measure the osmolarity of the patient. Now that usually we take a blood with a 5 ml blood, for example, or 10 ml blood. So basically we're using the liter. So that's why for the clinical application, they're using the osmolarity, not the osmolality. However, the term of the osmolarity and osmolality can be interchangeably used. Okay? Okay. Next, what is actually tonicity? Okay, tonicity is actually the ability of a solute, the solute to give the osmotic pressure, something like the solute to create a driving forces of the water to move into the outside the semi-permeable membrane. Okay, let's see. Okay, here we have a solutions. Okay, we have a solution that is, this is the membrane. Okay, this is the for example, the sodium. Okay, this is a sodium. Okay, then there is also a solution of glucose, for example. Okay, glucose. Okay, this is glucose. And then how about there is another solids of urea. Okay, urea, the green one is the urea. So all these glucose and sodium cannot cross the membrane. Only water can cross the membrane. The water will be cross the membrane, okay, from the lower concentration to the higher concentration of the solids. Okay, now this glucose and sodium cannot enter goes outside the membrane. However, urea is actually the ineffective osmo or ineffective solutes in which the urea can cross over the membrane. The urea can cross over the membrane, so it shows that these glucose and only the glucose and sodium can give the tonicity of the solution here. It's not the urea. Okay, because the urea can cross the membrane, so it cannot give any effective forces to create the to increase the osmolarity of the solution here. However, that's we call it as a tonicity, it's not the osmolarity. If you are using the words osmolarity, then you have to include all the solutes inside the solutions. But for the tonicity, it's very special that it only consider the effective forces that create by the solution that cannot cross the membrane. Okay, that's all for the explanation for today. I wish you that you can take the lesson for today, and if you have any query, then you can call and contact me later. Thank you.